Hey guys, how you going? Welcome back to another video. Oz Patriot. Yeah, we haven't done a video here for a couple of weeks, so I do apologise for that, but I'm very spontaneous, and I'm going to do this one with the lights out because I've got to drive, because I'm off to get some groceries, but I want to talk to you guys about especially Australians. If you're a follower and you're following Australia, you know, cool beans. If you're not and you follow elsewhere in the world, you're about to get to see what happens here. So if you're not in Australia and you don't know what's going on down here, and you got no idea, you see, well, Victoria's on like a 10-week lockdown. They've got cases every day. 90% of the deaths, probably more, are inside aged care facilities. The health guy today said, and I quote, he said that these people that are dying were already in palliative care, okay, and they will be put on the COVID statistics as a COVID death, even though it's not clear whether they died with or from COVID, but they will still be placed as a COVID death. Now that's straight up manipulating statistics, and it's straight up admitting that you're lying to the public, and yet the public aren't even fucking awake to the lies. It's unbelievable. You know, he blatantly lies on national television, live. He's live. He's live. And he lies on national television about the statistics being manipulated based on the fact that they're not clear, which is exactly what New Zealand have been doing since the start as well. I was watching a video the other day from back in April. I found an article that was with that was correlated, thanks to a friend of mine, Eddie, in New Zealand. He pointed me in the right direction, but they're putting probable causes, probable. So it's maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what I got out of the New Zealand video was that these people have. He said that the guy tested negative, but he was still placed on the stats as a COVID death because he was in the aged care facility or within that cluster that was positive. So he tested negative, right? But he'll be still placed. Now, are people fucking brain dead? Like, do you not understand what that means? Or am I the brain dead one? Because, like, to me, that's straight up lying and making the statistics worse than what they are. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't know anymore, because there's so much crap getting put out on YouTube and Google, and even Google put out some misinformation, and then our ACCC, which is the Australian it's basically the consumer watchdog, came out and said that no, that's misinformation. Now Google was saying how the Australian government was going to look at charging us to use the services that are currently free, to be able to access news articles and related documentation to what's going, whatever's in the news at the time, you know. Something very to that similarity of that sort of that way, and then the ACCC came out today or yesterday and said no, that's actually incorrect. That's not what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what Google's planning on doing. So it turns out it's actually Google that's going to be charging. I can near smash into her. She was enjoying a good feed from Mackie D's. So you've got, so where was I? Oh yeah, they're straight up lying to us. They're lying to us, and yet fucking everybody's saying, no, it's a conspiracy. At what point at what point do you start accepting the fact that the people that are sharing the information with you about how we're being lied to, at what point do you start accepting the fact that what we're saying is true? You've got the government on national television and the health authorities on national television telling you that they're lying to you, and yet, fucking can't be right, it's on Facebook. But the source, you point someone in the right direction of the source. Like, let's take for example, last night I was having a conversation with a fella. I'm pretty sure he was from New Zealand. I got tagged in it. It was about, we all know the US. They are paying the hospitals more money to have COVID patients and patients on incubators, and then, you know, subsequently, if that person dies in the hospital from COVID, they get paid like $39,000 per patient. So why wouldn't you want to lie? Especially if it's a privately owned hospital. Yeah, so why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're, at the end of the day, if you've got KPIs and you've got key performance indicators, meaning you've got a certain bracket to break, so the board and the shareholders are happy, because it's a business, isn't it? At the end of the day, people's health is a business. That's why pharmaceuticals exist, and that's why they want us to have a vaccine, because Big Pharma wins. That's why hydroxychloroquine has been banned in Queensland and in Victoria, and ivermectin, something like that. It's called something like that. Very similar. Another drug. If you partner it up with zinc, you know, they've had great results. The problem is the mainstream media don't tell you why the people that died on the hydroxychloroquine or subsequently suffered on hydroxychloroquine is because when they were on the hydroxychloroquine, they weren't given zinc, and or they were giving too high dosages. Okay, so that's where that comes from. The fucking drug has been around for 70 years. Hydroxychloroquine has been around for 70 years, and now it's all of a sudden unsafe. Are you brain dead? It's been around for 70 years. It's been safe for 70 years. It's been FDA approved for 70 years. It's been prescribed for 70 years for many different fucking reasons and diseases and whatnot. But now it's deadly, and you've got to ban it. So if you don't, are you awake yet? Like, are you seriously awake? I don't get this. How are people so fucking dumb? Like, I don't get it. How are people so how are they brain dead to the fact that the government is lying to them right in front of their face? You know, like, again, today, Scott Morrison, whatever. I'm not, you know, our politicians are just scum, because today he comes out and says that it'll be likely that it'll be mandatory to have a vaccine in Australia, and the government's going to pay for that. We'll make it free. All right. You know why they say they're making it free? Because they want as many people to take it as possible. Because when they get the majority, then it becomes mandatory. That's how that shit works. Okay, so if enough people sign up to get the drug or the vaccination, then, well, you know, if it's 51% of the population says, yep, we're going to do it because it's free, then the rest of us have to have it, because that's how it works, right? But I also heard this morning on Sunrise, because we put it on Sunrise of a morning so our kids don't watch because our kids will watch ABC and they'll watch kid shows, and then when we get up at 7 o'clock, we switch it over to Channel 7, because it's boring for the kids, and I don't really play it for very long, and I usually chuck on something from YouTube, and I have a YouTube motivation shit in the background. But before I turned it over to YouTube this morning, I was listening to a epidemiologist, you know, hand-picked, because that's what they are. They're hand-picked to tell the narrative. If you don't know that, then you're pretty fucking stupid. They're pretty much, they're told to go on the show and basically follow the guidelines of what the media are telling you. So, however, this guy this morning, I don't know whether he was supposed to say it or if it was a slip up, but he said that there'll still be, there's not as severe reactions to this current batch of vaccination trials, but there still are side effects at the moment. So he's saying that there's currently side effects, but they're just processed. Now they're just progressing to human trials, I think. Okay, that's what he said, I'm pretty sure. But what got me was, because I remember this, because I used it as a post later on in the day, if it has a success rate of 70%, meaning if you've got a 70% chance of it actually working, meaning then now you've got a 30% chance of it not working, right? The requirement would be that the most of the population would have to have the vaccination to create herd immunity. Yeah, do you get that? So to create herd immunity, we all need to be vaccinated. But isn't herd immunity about catching the virus, surviving the virus, and creating the antibodies for the virus naturally? So wouldn't you just want to immunise, I don't know, the vulnerable people who are at risk, which is the 20%, right? Wouldn't you want to just make sure that those guys are vaccinated or have the option to be vaccinated? Not mandatory, the option. Okay, it is recommended that you have the vaccination, but it is not forced upon. Right? I shared a post of that today, and I asked people for their thoughts. And I had a friend, and he's a good bloke. He's a legend. We have differing opinions, and that's the beautiful thing about our friendship. We can have differing opinions, and we're still mates, and we respect each other's point of views. What I didn't get in this response was that he said, and I quote, he said, "You know how I feel about this topic, rah. However, I don't think it should be made mandatory, but I think workplaces and stuff like that should be allowed to ask for a certification of your immunisation." So, meaning that if an employer wants to hire you and then they say, "Can you provide me your certificate of immunisation from COVID-19, and you say, "I don't have one," now that employer can actually use that as a scapegoat to not hiring you, even if you're probably the best person for the job, right? Okay, so that's what he said. Not mandatory, but you should be able to provide, workplaces and stuff like that should be able to ask you for a certificate of immunisation, like schools and stuff like that for your kids, because we already have that now. Okay, we have it's called No Jab No Play, and it's also called No Jab No Pay. All right, meaning that if you're on welfare and your kids go to a school and that school requires you to have or that daycare requires you to have a certain immunisation, and your kids do not have that immunisation, then you forfeit the ability to earn a certain amount from the government. I think it's like $27 a fortnight or something per kid that you get nullified. It's not even really worth saying no jab, no pay, to be honest. But that's a form of coercion, which is technically against the law. But what was I saying? Yeah, so technically now you've created a mandatory situation by adding in a subsequent punishment for the individual who says no. You see, so now that person has to either accept the fact that they're probably not going to get employed wherever they want to be employed, because they can't provide a certificate of immunisation because they don't want to be immunised, because that's not what they want to do, okay, because they believe in if you look after your body, you will be able to fight the virus yourself, and the body will adapt, and the body will make sure that it's stronger to be able to get past it, all right? If you're a healthy person, you shouldn't need a vaccination anyway. In honesty, you shouldn't. If you are a healthy adult, or a healthy child, you're not overweight, you don't have diabetes, you don't have cardiovascular disease, you don't have cancer, you're 100% healthy, right? You don't need a vaccination. 9 times out of 10, probably 10 out of 10 actually, it's higher chances of you not catching something than someone who's just had a vaccination for something. Have you noticed that? You have a vaccination for the flu and then 2 weeks later you get sick. Some people get a little bit sick, some people get rotten sick. Some people feel like death, you know, and then they don't go back and have vaccinations ever again because of that one time. So he said that, but then he also said that he respects the fact that people don't want to be immunised, or they should have the choice, but those people who don't be immunised can't travel overseas. Now, you can't have that both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, that person has a choice to not be immunised, but now we're going to take away this choice because you've chosen that choice. There shouldn't be any ramification for someone who chooses not to put something in their body, because choosing something to go in your body is a human right, correct? So it's a freedom of choice, and it's also a human right to choose what you put inside your body. Doesn't matter what it is. Nobody tells you or fines you or taxes you more money for eating cheeseburgers, do they? No, they don't. Nobody taxes you more for getting totally pissed every weekend and smoking weed. No one does that, right? But you chose. You choose that. You choose to smoke weed and drink piss every weekend. You choose to go to McDonald's on a Sunday and get $40 worth of food because you're hungover and hungry, because you've just spent the last 2 days on the piss. But nobody fined you for that. Nobody made you no one created a consequence for you of that. No, they didn't. You are free willing to do that. So why should someone who doesn't have a vaccination be disallowed travel overseas anywhere, even interstate? They shouldn't. Period. So there's lots of shit going on. There's heaps of shit. And all what I've told you today is actual facts. All this shit you can go back and have a look through news articles and all sorts of shit. So what happened was ScoMo, old Scotty from marketing, said, right, we're going to try and get, everybody vaccinated. It's likely to be mandatory. He's now backtracked on that because of the backlash from the public. So there are enough people awake for him to realise that what he said this morning, it made him realise, hang on a minute, these guys don't, what I'm doing. And he was the guy that created No Jab, No Play. He actually was that guy. He was a social security minister, or social services minister, and he created that as part of the dealio for parents who want to get paid on welfare. So I don't know what the point of the video is, but the point of the video is to broaden your mind and look at everything from a different point of view. Everybody interprets the information differently. Everybody interprets what they see differently, and then they put it out in their own format, and then it becomes what it becomes. But the idea is that, you see these people posting shit like, the two dogs. Have you seen those? The two dogs meme? It's where there's two dogs and they're talking to each other saying, why can't they just sit and stay still? Because we can. Well, for starters, dogs aren't free thinkers. They don't have the human ability. They don't have a human brain. Okay? They can be trained to obey commands. Okay? They can't think freely, and they can't critically think. And they can't make decisions based on what they're thinking about. Humans can. We're a very unique animal. Very unique. Okay? So that's why the dog can sit and stay and wait for you to say the code word when it's dinner time, and your missus, if you tell her to sit and stay, she won't, because guess what? Human. It's different. We're not dogs. We're animals, but we're a different kind of animal. Okay, we're smarter. Okay, we're actually a highly intelligent being, but people don't use their full potential. So when I see their memes, I just think those people must be so ignorant. They must be so ignorant to the fact that they don't understand how the world actually really works. there's a chain of command. There's a chain of command, and you know, and people are saying like you can't compare Victoria to Hitler. Well, yeah, you can. You literally can, because these people aren't allowed to leave their homes unless they have an essential job. These people aren't allowed to go outside a 5 kilometre radius from their house. If they want to walk around the block, they've got to walk around the block. They can't go 10, 15, 30, 40 kilometres out of their way to go for a run in the park. If there's no park within 5k, guess what? They've got to just walk the block. 5 kilometre radius isn't very big. It's very small. Imagine living in a 5 kilometre radius and your supermarket is just on the outside of that 5k. Imagine it. Imagine it. Oh, fuck, you can't even go and get your groceries. You can't even leave your house to get groceries because it's 6 kilometres. All right, it becomes a 6 kilometre radius because it's just outside your zone. Imagine that. You know, I put a post up about a week ago saying that suicides are tipped to rise 20%. They rose 20% in Melbourne, in Victoria, just recently. They rose 20% suicides. Did you know over 60,000 people have died since February, not from COVID? Yep, and yet here we are, talking about COVID like it's the most dangerous thing ever. Did you know while those 60,000 people died, and while we're in lockdown over here in Australia, and Tasmanians can't even leave the fucking state until December, which is unbelievable. Unreal. I mean, I got nowhere to go. Nah, I didn't have plans to go to Melbourne and graduate. Nah, thanks, Premier. You're a fucking douchebag. I didn't have plans to go and stay in Melbourne for a few nights and enjoy my graduation with my wife and have a weekend away without my kids. Nah, I didn't have plans, you know. That's the problem people don't see, that you got to stay home to save lives. When something becomes yours, it's yours. So for your safety, it means it's yours. You own it. It's ownership. Your own safety. There's 2 words in there, 2 key words that equal ownership. One is own and the other one's yours. Means it's yours. It belongs to you and nobody else. Nobody else can choose for you. You've got to make the decision because it's yours. Yeah? You own the right to choose for your own safety. You know, so when people tell me that I've got to shut up and just accept the fact that the government's telling me what I've got to do, no, I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to tell the government to get fucked. I'm going to tell the government they're a fucking pack of idiots. And then I'm going to tell people that if they... I don't agree. And I'm not going to ever agree with this shit, because every time I hear something come out of these people's mouths, they're straight out admitting that they're lying to you. Straight out. Straight out. How many times does someone have to fucking tell you on the national television that they're lying to you? Yeah, look, he didn't die of COVID. We don't know what he died of, right? But he was in the cluster, so guess what? He's going to go down as a COVID stat. Cool. Did you know the CDC had to re-record their deaths? Their deaths from COVID went from 44,000 to 11. Yep. Their COVID deaths went from 44,000. They went from 44,000 deaths with COVID down to 11. European countries have done it too. They've gone back and redone it. It's unreal. So you've got to wake up. You really got to wake up and start realising that this is not good for anybody. This isn't good for anybody. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's my piece. I'm done. 25 minutes. I'm going to get some ice cream and I've got to get some other shit too. Enjoy the video. We'll be back again soon.